Hello, everyone. In this very short lecture, I will be talking about mental models for user-centric AI systems. All right. So when we are designing AI systems, um, what we want to achieve here is like to design and develop user-friendly, user-centric AI systems, right? Just to record it, what do you mean by uh, user-centered AI, human-centered AI? Um, it is pretty simple, right? So you're designing an AI system, and your system, of course, will be very complex in terms of the technical stuff, right? Such as algorithms, the models, very complex mathematical, you know, formulas, right? But in the end, the question here is who is going to use your system and what kind of, you know, problems your AI can solve for your target users, right? And what are the user experiences, right, when they use your system, right? So which is why mental models play a very important role in human-centered AI. In other words, in designing interactive, user-friendly, intelligent AI systems. It is important to take into account the mental models, particularly for your target users, right? So in this lecture, I'm going to talk about what aspect, right? Which aspects of our AI should we explain to our users? Like basically, when you're recommending something, your AI system, right? Recommending something or making a prediction or like making a personalization, how we are going to display the contents, display the functionalities, display the information back to the users in a very user-friendly way so that your users can easily understand and also do the task, right? To achieve their user goals, right? So for example, you're recommending your AI system is recommending a list of movies, right? So how users can know these are the recommended movies and like how they can get your suggestion, your recommendations as quickly as possible, and also they actually watch the movies that are you recommended, right? So there are many ways that we can achieve this, right? But we have to be very careful in terms of uh providing information, supporting information back to the users. And it is always important to align with what system can do and how your users can understand, even though you are you keep suggesting the movie list, for example, to the users, but users never get it or like they never do it, right? Never watch the movies that you recommend. Then there must be some kind of issues, right? That we need to fix. Okay, the next one is um you're now designing a new AI system, right? So initially, what you can do, how you're going to communicate with your users in terms of, you know, reaching out to them and also like explain to them, what your AI system can do right now. And when they start using it, how it will, continue, right? So these are the things that we should consider. And like human-like interaction experiences are very important in human-centered AI. So these are the things that I will quickly go through it, right? So mental model is everywhere, right? So not necessarily to be a digital system, right? Mental model can be found in our daily lives, right? When you're driving a car, when you're using kind of like your keyboard when you're using like your coffee making machine and so many stuff, right? So the idea of mental model is like how you understand the way a product or device is supposed to use, right? Then when you see a product like a microwave, like you already have a mental model how to use it, right? Then the design itself, right? Interface design itself like supports, your mental model. It basically means like there is a match between the real world, what the device or like the product can offer to you, and how you understand the way that you are supposed to use it, right? If they are matched, then users can easily do the task, and they will get a very high very good user experience. Otherwise, the user experience will be pretty frustrating, or even like users may not achieve their goal, right? So the same thing in the AI model, right? The AI systems. So you are offering like very sophisticated AI interfaces, like features and functionalities, too many information, right? So the question here is like how you're going to match what your AI system can do, can offer, and how users can understand your users, right? So this alignment, this m- m- matching is very, very important, right? So right here for the AI powered like recommendation systems such as like music, right? For example, like a Spotify, right? Users might expect it to understand their music taste, right? Okay, so nowadays like people are getting much more familiar with like AI systems such as like recommendations, right? So they know like AI will understand them, right? So after using your systems, right, the AI algorithm should understand what the user likes, and like what they prefer, right? So this is their expectation. But after you using a few times, but the AI still cannot figure it out, right? Then there might be like some problem, right? There is like some mismatch between the expectation and the you know the the actuality, the reality. So for example, you are using GPT, right? You expect GPT to like do to become smarter and smarter in terms of like generating outputs, right? But along the way, like you don't get the answers that you want. The mental model is mismatched, right? So there is one of the language models, um, you know, implemented by like huge enterprise, right? I don't want to name it, but when we are using this language model, right? We already have used other similar like language models out there in the industry. But when we use this particular language model, like we already have mental model form right in our brain, and we are expecting to get the similar results or even better from this particular generative AI. But in reality, it it wasn't, right? Then what happened is, we have a bad user experience, and it's likely that, we may not want to use it again, right? So the same thing. So as I mentioned here, right, mental models are always linked to your prior experiences, right? So especially in AI systems, right, when you are developing AI systems, most of your target users, they already have experiences in using, internet and also, mobile interfaces, right? But when you're introducing new AI systems, you are using the same platform, but like different style or like different capabilities, different functionalities, right? So when your users are using your new AI system, of course, they will reapply their prior experiences, right? So they will bring in their past mental model in using your AI system, right? So your AI system is totally different from your the previous experiences. There is very likely to have like a mismatch, right? So not to happen, there's like what you can do, your AI system, your design can really offer, right? The clarity and also very user-friendly contents and also guidance instructions, they are very important. For example, like the voice activated assistant, right? Siri. So when I use like series, like we ask questions and it should be like conversational because Siri has been in the market for quite some time, right? So, okay, we have newer and more updated Siri, right? When we ask, it should be more and more natural in terms of conversations. But when you're using another like chatbot or like voice assistant application, when you're asking questions, but it's like very robotic and like it's like more um rule-based question answer type of things, then it doesn't match with your mental model, then your user experience will be pretty bad, right? So in this lecture, right, we will be looking into like four areas: set expectations for adaptation, onboarding stages, plan for co-learning, account for user expectations of human-like interaction, right? So these are the important considerations that we should uh, be focusing on when we are like introducing a new AI system and designing AI system, especially like the looking into the aspect of like mental models for our target users, like they are very important. So set expectations for the adaptation. So everyone we knows here, right? The AI systems are not dynamic. Of course, the website, the web applications before are not dynamic as well. But the level of like um adaptability is like pretty different because Web 2.0 can really the provide the contents, right? The outputs are based on like the keywords or like predefined rules and like the predefined algorithms. Whereas AI systems, we have a brain, we have intelligence, right? So AI system like is a lot smarter, more intelligent. It can understand the context, right? The context that you are basically looking into. For example, you're looking for beauty products on like e-commerce, and how many times like you click, what kind of like beauty product you're looking for, and also like the brand, your budget, your personality. So these are the things that AI can really predict, and based on that, they can take like very complex like queries and basically provide very personalized, very you know the accurate results back to the users, right? So which is why the adaptation is like very obvious in AI systems, right? So for example, like responsive products adapt based on user input, right? As I mentioned, like based on user behaviors, their clicks, like their prior experiences, prior information. So they will create the recommendation. So the same thing every time you watch Netflix or Spotify, so or even like the Amazon, right? So they keep changing in terms of the recommendations, right, to the users, because the reason is kind of like they know what you like, right? And they have like a lot of inputs from you. Based on that, they kind of like become very adapt adaptive, right? Very adapted to the users. Based on that, they will kind of like recommend you. So you watch Netflix, right? Every time you log into the system, the service, right? Then they will keep changing in terms of recommendations and the like movies, like top 10 movies, or like okay, nowadays like Halloween, like themes movie. When Christmas is getting closer, then they will kind of like Christmas themes movies, right? That kind of adaptation, you should be very clear in terms of like designing AI system and make sure users can get it, user can understand it, and user can know it. Okay, these are the adaptations that they should be prepared for, right? So one example here is like fitness app AI, adapts like workout sections based on the user's progress and the feedback, right? So it will keep changing, right? So it is not like, rule-based static workout plan. It will be dynamic, right? So that kind of expectations you should guide the users, right? You should let users know that kind of adaptation will be there, right, when it comes to the AI systems. So to achieve this, existing mental models are very important. As I mentioned, like, users, they always bring in the prior experiences. For if their prior mental models and the experiences do not match with the user's kind of like do not match with the AI's design and also like AI functionalities, there might be a problem, right? So to avoid that kind of confusion, we need to understand, what their current mental models are, right? For example, like, if you want to introduce a new photo editing like application, right? So before you introduce AI features, you need to clearly understand, okay, what are the current practices they have now, and what mental model your users have, right? So this is very important thing that we need to know. So, how to achieve this, like we always link back to the user-centered design, right? What is your users like, what they are trying to do, what kind of mental models they have, right? And like what is the step-by-step process that your current users like, doing and what they want to achieve, right? So these are the things that you should be very clear when it comes to the understanding users' mental model, especially in designing AI systems, right? Okay, so the next one is onboard in stages. Of course, you're going to you are now designing uh, an AI system, right? You need to introduce your AI systems to the users, right? So the onboarding is very, very important. The gentle introduction is very, very important. Gentle, but it must be concise. It should be, just to the point, and like offer what your AI system can do, right? Don't kind of like boast your AI systems that your system really cannot do. For example, like you can basically do the editing service, right? For example, on the writing task, right? Such as like Grammarly, right? So you want to do something similar but more features, and also like more powerful algorithms and the models. So you have to introduce like, okay, you are introducing a Grammarly like, the word editing, language editing AI service, right? So you have to introduce, right, so what your AI system is all about, right? And what kind of functionalities you can offer, right, in a very gentle way, and be transparent what you can do, right? For the marketing purpose, like, okay, you boast, okay, you are 10 times like faster, 10 times like, more accurate. But in reality, if it is not, it will be a shame, right? So which is why the onboarding are like, the task is very important. It is kind of like a process of helping your new users, right? Especially when you're introducing totally new idea, how to convince your users, right, to first of all like to understand your product, right? So what your product can do, they need to understand, right? And the second stage is kind of like what they can do, how they can do, right? And more importantly, if I use like, what kind of benefits I will get. So these are the things that you have to kind of like introduce them very in a very gradual way, right? So if you're giving too much information uh, at one stop, people will definitely get confused. As I mentioned, AI is not no longer a new thing, but it is still a new thing for most of the users out there, right? So we have to be very careful. So the onboarding experience begins before users purchase or download it, right? So for them to get the idea is very, very important. We have experiences. We see like, the advertisements, like, what do you call that? The AI system, AI bot, like, there are many, right? But the introduction is very, very important, right? So which is why you need to walk with like not only the technical team, the marketing team, you know, customer service team, and so on, right? Involve many stakeholders in this process, right? And for example, an AI-powered budgeting app application onboarding starts with clear marketing messages explaining like what you can do, right? Overall, like, what kind of product it is, users needs to get it. They need to get it, right? Then, you know, you explain what kind of features and functionalities and attract them to sign up, right? Okay, if you're asking them to immediately subscribe, then it will be pretty weird, right? You're asking credit cards and stuff, like, not many people may want to do. So the gentle and gradual introduction is very, very important here. So over-promising AI magic is like, very dangerous. So what you can do, because it may lead to the user's frustration, if really, if your system really cannot do, or if your system can do, but users they do not know how to do it. So never over-promise AI magic. AI is a magic, right? But you know, there is also a limitation. So we just want be transparent about what you can do, what you really cannot do, right? So over promisings will may lead to like users frustrations, if they are not satisfied with your product, right? Okay, so right here is like very natural, like, explanation, right? Gentle introduction. Whereas to the right is like very boastful and very overpromised, very technical explanation, right? So which is why when you are like, at the stage of onboarding, like you have to be very careful about all these stuff. So, so these are the guidelines that you should consider when you're introducing your AI systems. Be upfront about what your product can do, cannot do for the first time. Be transparent. Ideally, kind of like, gradually attract them to come on board, right? Then you let them experience it, right? Upfront information, upfront values, right? Immediate values. What are these? What kind of benefits? For example, you're using Grammarly editing tools, right? Immediately let them use and like taste it, experiences, right? So this is kind of like pretty important in AI system. The other one is explain the benefit. This is kind of like one common issues, one common issue in our any development wall, right? So most of the time, like developers, they want to really talk about their complex technologies. They want to boast. They want to kind of like, be proud of what they can do. But users actually they don't care, right? So generative AI, large language model. Okay, we use like transformer technology, very complex neural network, very complex architecture. People don't care, right? Users, what users they care is like they want to use your system, they want to ask question, they want to get accurate answers. I don't care about the transformers, behind, unless you are a developer, right? So explain the benefits, explain the services, not the technology, right? And guide, more importantly, guide the users how to use your system, right? Especially when you have very complex algorithms behind, how you're going to convey these complexities into simplified, user-friendly interfaces, which is pretty important here. And when you're introducing like new features, of course, when you're using, you know, you know, you are going to roll out more and more features like in the future. So a gentle introduction is very, very important, right? And never force your users like to use it, right? But you have to guide them. Okay, this is a good feature, this is a new feature that you should not miss, something like this, right? So right here the example is kind of like just kind of like showing the like totally new feature and make a distraction to the users, whereas okay, this is a new feature, you highlight it, but stay obvious, but it is not distracting or like annoying to the users, right? And design for experimentation is like pretty important as well, because without testing, without experimenting, people may not believe it, right? So um the onboard introduction is messages are very important, and like immediate hands-on experimentation is you know very important as well. Your help and documentation, your guidance, your tutorials, your the experimentation, they are very important. But the guideline here is that you never force your users, right? So if they don't want, they can easily skip it, right? So you give the guidance, but users, they have like 100% freedom. If they don't like, they will skip it, right? They will cancel it, even though like experimentations, tutorials, like they are all important here, right? So right here, like this is kind of like um you are kind of like attracting users what you can do, and more like collaboration, right? Okay, you do some kind of experimentation, then we will calculate it and we will do recommendations for you, whereas this is like more uh unrealistic, right? So more human-like to the left design. It's just more like AI, very technical things, and like is a bit far from the reality, right? This is more human, like more connection to the users. Okay, so onboarding is all about setting up the interaction and start creating a relationship between your users and your AI system, which is why your strategies, your messages, the experiments are very, very important. So you can always use like that template to make sure that like you will do a good job at onboarding stage. Okay, the next one is the plan for co-learning. So some of you may have heard about the human AI collaboration, right? So it's kind of like the mutual learning, right? So AI will learn from you, like from your mistakes, like from your inputs, and it will improve the algorithm or the model. And at the same time, the users will also learn from the like the system, right? AI will guide the users. Okay, you know, for example, you are asking like some kind of questions, you ask, you kind of like AI system kind of provide feedback, and the system and the users also provide feedback to the like to the AI system, so that it's kind of like mutual learning, right? So connect feedback with personalization. So feedback is very, very important. So with the feedback, AI systems also always like trying to improve their ability, their capability, right? So and also you need to always get capture and the feedback from the users, right? For example, you're recommending a list of like the songs or movies, like you need to know, right, whether users cancel it, how much time like they take your recommendations, right? How many movies they watch, you know etc., etc., right? So they are very important. And also when you see like GPT, right, you always see that kind of like you like it, like the answer, you don't like, that kind of feedback, and it will give you like two options to choose, right? That kind of feedback are very important for the algorithm as well, right, to improve and fail gracefully. As I mentioned, AI still has a lot of limitations. In some cases, like we all experience this, AI cannot really find the matching, like, the items such as like movies, sounds, and so on. In that case, like how we can do it, you know, failure is kind of like is common, right? It is not a disaster. It is kind of like a common thing in AI world, right? In that case, like, what you can do, right? We can design this failure in a very graceful way, right? For example, like um you know, if we cannot do it, right? So the left design is AI really cannot do it, right? It's kind of like it's end of the road. Or maybe like, the left design is more improved, right? They can do it manually, or like they can reroute it, right? Something like this. So it is not the end of the journey, right? There is always a hope, right? So here is like, the hopeless situation. So even though the AI cannot really do it, fill it gracefully. This is like pretty important. And always help users like what the other options are, right? So this is pretty important in AI system. Remind, reinforce, and adjust. This is another things, right? So, you know, when they are using like your product, your system, it will become a kind of a routine in the in their daily lives, right? So reinforcing users' mental models through regular use is like pretty important, right? So you're giving like more information, you're giving like, the guidance, you're giving helping their mental models. They are very, very important, especially when you are like, introducing, changing the like design, the functions. We have to remind them, reinforce them, and like let them adjust to the new things, right? um Especially like, there is a difference between like the the AI systems that people use in their daily life versus like, once a year, there will be always a different, right? So you have to guide them like very professionally, very gracefully, right? And keep track of users' needs, right? So you need to know as an AI system, you need to know the ongoing needs of like and changing needs of users, which is why understanding your user is like very, very important, right? So, and at the same time, like for the users, right, where they get problem, you know, you know, what they like, right? So these are the things. For example, like, many people like, they don't actually um not many people succeed in setup process. In that kind of situation, you keep track of the users like, footprints and their actions through the consent, yes, and you have to improve it, right? So understanding, keeping track of your user needs is very important, but in a very ethical way, right? So adapt to the evolving like user journey. User will grow from the novice users to the professional users, like how you're going to guide them and offer like, suitable like, functionalities, abilities for them. This is adapting to the user's journey is very, very important. Okay, the last one is account for user expectations of human-like interaction. As I mentioned, right, like AI systems getting more natural nowadays, right? So they are always expecting your AI systems to be human-like, right? Such as voice interfaces. Nowadays, like, the chatbot like generative AI, it's kind of like, a conversation between yourself and your, you know, another human being. So which is why the human like conversation, natural language type of like interaction is like very, very important. So the next one is clearly communicate AI limits and the capabilities, right? So, you are recommending, you're making predictions, right? You will be giving a list of, the recommendation. Always be transparent, like, the the kind of like, what do you call that? The the trust, right? The confidence level. Okay, so you provide a list of recommendations, right? Okay, the top five is like, 95% match. But when you go down to the list, right, the matching can be weaker, right? Lesser. So that kind of the communication, the clear message is very important to connect between your users and the your kind of like, your AI system, right? So this is like, which one is more human-like, right? So you decide it, right? More, you know, personalized, right? Um, the correct interaction is like, very important. So using human traits in conversational AI, like, you're speaking to the other person can help users interactive intuitively. Um, when AI refers to itself as I, users may expect near perfect language processing, which is might not deliver, like balancing conversational cues, right? So that kind of, you know, users cue are like important, right? When you need to balance between the natural interaction versus what you users can really do, right? So this is like, very personalized, human-like, but users' expectation maybe get very high, right? In that case, if it really cannot, then it might be a problem, right? So these are the some examples, right? So in generative AI, right? So Claude, um, Claude like doesn't have the ability to run the code it generates yet, right? You know, it cannot really ran the code, right? So this is the limitation. And Claude can make mistakes. Please double check the response. So when you see like ChatGPT, the same thing. ChatGPT can make mistakes, check important information. So these are the things that you are educating people. AI is good, but not always 100% are, you know, trustworthy. So you have to bring in your own intuitiveness, right, into the process, right? So this is very important. So in summaries, users mental models are very important. Your AI design, what your AI system can do, what you can offer, and the mental model users have, they should be matched, they should be aligned. Otherwise, if there is a mismatch, it may be leading to like, users frustration and the like, the negative user experiences, right? So these are the four things that we should take into account um when it comes to the designing AI systems to match with like, users mental model. All right, so this is all about it, and like I will see you in the next lecture.